Hey there, my name's Joe Keyport, and you're listening to the Ear Coffee Podcast. This week, I talked to Dino Erickson of Internet Dating, blending the best elements of folk and emo. Internet Dating's debut album, Incomplete Control, has Dino looking inward. A few months ago, I had the chance to talk to Dino about the beginnings of this unsuspectingly prolific project, the record, and the intensive music video for the record's single, Metal in the Middle. It's Dino Erickson of Internet Dating. It's all right here on the Ear Coffee Podcast. Dino, it's been a long time.
It has. It's been a long time.
Yeah, we were talking about that just off mic. How you were probably one of the last people I probably interviewed in person for one of the other bands you played in, and so suddenly a whole year went by, and now it's March of 2021.
Yeah, it's crazy. Time flies. But
we're here to talk about the new record you put out as Internet Dating. So we always kind of, get to a little bit of history when doing any kind of conversation here on the Ear Coffee Podcast. And I didn't realize how far back this project went, creeping through your Bandcamp page. You got that compilation that has those songs dating all the way back to 2013. Take me, through that beginning of when, this project became a thing for you.
yeah. So it first kind of started back when I was still playing with Molly's Worst Enemy, which is like the first band that I had been in. And I just kind of started writing songs that didn't really fit that vibe and what that was doing. And so I just started writing them on my acoustic guitar and would jam them out like that. Just didn't play any shows or anything, just kind of wrote some stuff. And then I connected with this guy, Billy Mitchell, who was in another band, and he's just a phenomenal drummer. And so we decided, let's start like a 2-piece band. And that was, probably back in 2013. And so then we started playing shows, just the two of us all around, and we recorded with our friend Ezra just in his basement studio and stuff. And it's kind of always been one of those things that I've done just kind of on the side, writing my own music, take it to another person like Billy or with Trevor or different people like that. But it's songs that I just write by myself. And so that's kind of how I've been able to do categorize that music and be like, oh, this is Internet Dating while I'm doing other bands and stuff. Be like, oh, that's just that's my thing,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What was that first moment when you're like, oh, these songs are pretty good, I should, start playing them in front of people? What was that leap? When was that leap for you?
I think it's when I started playing with Billy, and I started playing on the electric guitar, and he was drumming, and we were like, let's start playing shows. And prior to that, I had just probably written maybe 6 or 7 songs and recorded them acoustic just myself. Didn't really put them out or share them with anyone. But I did a super small short run of tapes of that first stuff. But then Billy and I started playing, and it was kind of more let's start playing shows and being a band. And yeah.
So with that, so this originally was, despite you writing a lot of these songs, were you considered Internet Dating a band project? Or because right now I mainly know you for it's been mainly a Dino led project, and then every now and again I'll hear a bunch of cool instrumentation from some people.
Yeah, I think when it was Billy and I thought of it more as being a band, but now when he left, I just kept playing shows acoustic by myself for a good few years and wrote some music like that. And then so now I kind of see it as just being Internet Dating is a moniker that I just go under instead of being oh, Dino Erickson.
Yeah.
And stuff. It's kind of more fun to have a quirky name like Internet Dating and make people be like, what's that? And then I can have whoever wants to be a part of it and not necessarily be look at me as an individual. It's more look at us presenting this music that I happen to write,
Yeah, no, most definitely. With the original, that original lineup was just you and Billy doing, and he had all the percussion down, listening through, and then I was looking through a couple of old live videos you had done, and listening to those other releases. You have a really unique kind of playing style because you do a lot of I don't know if it's drifting, with the slaps and the hand percussion mixed with some of the hammer-ons and more of the twinkly kind of emo guitar playing. Was that something that came out of Billy leaving and you wanting to maybe keep that fuller sound as a solo artist, or where was that in the beginning too?
Yeah, I was doing that before Billy joined when I was just playing by myself. And I
Okay.
had written a couple of songs, like the song Sleeping Beauty was one of the first songs that I
Hmm.
had ever written and had put out. And that's got slapping on it, and that was before I like jammed with Billy. I don't even think Billy and I really like wrote a full band like version of that so much
Hmm.
as like that just was kind of that one a song that I did that on. And I was really into like I was just finding Ben Howard
Mm.
and like Andy McKee and like
Yep.
all those types of artists that do that kind of stuff. And so, but I didn't want to do too much of it because then I liked finger picking too and playing that more kind of classical vibe mixed with the emo screamo bands
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
do that, like the scramsy bands that do that kind of stuff too. That's so. I feel like for me, internet dating was kind of a culmination of all these different sounds that I was getting into in the like local scene that just kind of morphed into being like this is my interpretation of all of that mashed into one sound, kind of
Hmm. Yeah, no, because I was
regurgitation of my inspiration, kind of.
yeah, because I was watching a video and you like laid in the middle set song, you like laid the guitar on your lap and were like strumming and like slapping while holding chords on the other one. Because is that an open tuning then, or is that or
Yeah,
were
yeah,
you
that one is,
okay?
yeah. A lot of the internet dating stuff, like I use different open tunings, and I've written one open tuning that is very close to standard, but it's just a little bit off of like a regular standard guitar, so I can kind of keep track of what I'm doing as far
Yeah.
as music theory goes. But yeah, a lot of the slap stuff ends up being in open tuning,
Hmm.
just because then you get that fuller sound. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, moving into Incomplete Control, which was released about a week ago as of recording this, is this the first full length record you consider under internet dating, or is because you had a couple, you have like you have Stall, which was released 2 years ago, maybe now, and then you got that like compilation. Is this Incomplete Control? Do you consider that like the first full record, or do you say the
Yeah,
other releases?
for sure. First like full album that I've put out. Those other like that I think on Bandcamp I just put it up as a big mix
Mm,
of stuff. Those are all like separate EPs that I'd put out between those years, and it just kind of made sense to like put those all together in one stack. And so then I did Stall, which was 4 songs,
mm,
and that was kind of fun being like in the EP format where I did each song in a different studio and stuff, and kind
mm,
of was like approached each song as an individual song and being like, this is a collection of 4 songs versus when I wrote Incomplete Control, I kind of sat down with more of a, I want to put out an album next, and I'm gonna write 8 or 9 songs that like go together really well that I think are cohesive and work well,
mm.
and then go in with that and kind of like put out an album instead of I with Stall and all the other stuff is very much like here's these 4 or 5 songs and they kind of like would be very separate from each other
Mm.
in a way,
Gotcha.
or at least feel that way.
Yeah. Well, I was reading. You mentioned the wanting to put 8 or 9 songs together to make that full record. I saw a quote from you in one of the write ups done about the record that you had sat on a couple of these songs for a while to make sure you had that length for it. What was that like to compile and work, and sometimes as I was reading rework a lot of those tunes.
That was a lot of fun. Like Tiptoe is a really old song that I did with Billy a while
Mm-hmm.
ago, and I just kind of as I played it over the years, I've reworked it and done different things with the melodies and stuff, and uh, so it's fun to like kind of go back to that song and be like, how do I make this a little different, or how do I like I added slap guitar on that track instead of prior. I just had done the chorus differently, and so
Mm-hmm.
there's like little things like that. And then there's a few songs that um because it took me about a year to write all the music, like the rest of the songs besides Tiptoe.
Okay.
About a year's time of writing those songs, and there'd be times where it'd be like I wrote a verse and a chorus that I really like, and then a bridge would come to me, like, or different bridges would work, and I'd
Mm-hmm.
rework bridges, and then I'd write a bridge and be like, well, now I don't like the chorus so much because like I like this thing a little bit more, and it changed all the parts in such a way that it took about a year until I had all the songs where like this is like all right, this is it, this is what it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be, and I took that and it was just acoustic and vocals to Ryan Wasaba
Okay.
in St. Louis, and like tracked that and set that down like acoustic vocals. We did some percussive stuff there and a little light piano.
Mhm.
but then took all that stuff back to Minneapolis and sat on it for almost another year. So where I was kind of like adding things, little flavor notes or different things. And then when COVID happened and Floyd, it all was like, now I want to sit back on this for a little bit and put my focus on other things. And so it's kind of been a long time waiting to put this out and been working on it,
Yeah.
but here and there for little gaps of time. And so yeah, it's awesome like finally having it out and being like, this is the end product. Brace Cove came alongside and was like, let's put this out already. And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. And so it was sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, we're at any point during that where you just like, come on, it's good enough. Let's just put it out there because I've been
Yeah.
this
Oh
long.
yeah. Yeah. I think every month there was a point with that of being like, okay, that's it. Like I
Mhm.
need to call it right now, but it's kind of fun to just keep tweaking and keep editing and
Yeah.
changing things and letting a project like an album, your first album, like really mull over in your brain over years and be like, is this like really what I want to say in this song, or is this really what I want the song to sound like? Or
It's funny that you mentioned that, not to flip the focus, but I play in National Park Service.
yeah, totally.
And Dylan, when we were working on our debut record, or when I joined and they'd already finalized the demos for the record, you could look in the files and you could see Dylan did like 3 versions of each song as he like updated it and was tweaking, and like that total thing of you like I was sitting and mulling over melodies and lyrics and just to make sure it really sat right with you as a songwriter and for that first full statement as an artist, for internet dating.
For sure.
Yeah. At what point during, working on, those songs did you add, because you had a double bass at Travis?
Trevor
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays upright bass on all the songs, and a lot of the songs have double layered bass
Mm.
lines where he would do like one chord progression and then layer another chord progression on top of that, but just all on that double bass, the upright big bass,
Yeah.
So and
Yeah.
bowing and all that kind of stuff adds like a real depth to all the sounds, and like songs like Finicky totally changed, even though I had
Mm.
already recorded the acoustic and the vocals when we did that, and then I took it to Trevor and he's like, so I added these notes to it. It totally changed how the songs sounded, and like
Mm.
the notes he brought forward were notes that I hadn't heard really in the song until he played them and was like, now that's interesting, and like
Mm.
that makes it, take it there.
Yeah.
But he played on all the songs on the whole thing.
Is Trevor from Minneapolis, or is he someone you knew from just around? Because you obviously you've toured a ton.
Yeah, he came like to into internet dating when Billy was just leaving. Billy
Okay.
had like his last show. I'm going out to California, show at the Triple Rock, and
Mm-hmm.
that was Trevor's first show because we were like we should bring in a bass player, and he was playing like a 6 string but jazz style, and
Yeah.
yeah, and then we've just been playing music ever since, like different bands. Trevor was in Affogato too,
Okay.
uh, and kind of played with Infinite Me for a little bit, and so he's been around, and yeah, good homie to just have alongside.
Yeah, and like you said, the dimension it adds on some of those, like when you like it open, like you burst into like some of those bowed sections, the expansiveness on some of those tracks just changed that dimension wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk more about kind of what you were writing on this record, because like listening through like Incomplete Control, it's very much, it felt like a one, like it was a conversation between you and almost something else or someone else when like listening to it. It's you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think yeah, and I've thought about that too. I think a lot of the songs come out as being me like having conversations with myself
Mm.
and how I like mull things over with my subconscious and my like conscious self kind of going back at it. And so um a lot of the songs are things like I like to sing about things that I don't quite understand to like
Mm.
help me understand it sometimes, or like situations or conversations that will spark something in my brain that makes me go, huh, I hadn't thought of it that way. Or just random emotions do the same thing, where you're
Yeah.
like, I don't really understand this emotion right now. And it might make me angry or sad or upset or really happy and excited or that kind of thing, but I don't quite understand it. So here's some words that I've been trying to place in that feeling and be
Mm.
like, help me understand it in a way. So
Mm.
yeah.
What was that like? Was there a specific like situation or moment that kind of spurred a lot of the like the focus of that record, or what was kind of that for you? That because it feels like you keep coming back to this idea. I mean, Incomplete Control is like a spin on some lyrics and, you know, Metal in the Middle kind of, or some words there where you're just kind of figuring out what to do with how you're feeling and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's definitely like things in your life you can control and things you can't control. Things like your situation or sometimes the people around you. Like it's hard to control some of those things, and but there's are things like that you can control
Mm,
that are within your control and how you respond to those things or how you let those things sit with you. And so it's kind of this imperfect balance that
mm,
they're always kind of looking to find. And a lot of the songs when I'm conversing with myself, I'm trying to find that line of like, what am I actually in control of, and what is it okay for me to like have personal like and emotional control over like
mm,
my own self when it comes down to it. And yeah, and so there's a lot of things that finding that balance is crucial to and key to, and I think it kind of replays throughout the album without being said so blatantly or spoken. You know,
yeah.
is it? It's not like every song has that in it specifically, but a lot of those situations lean back on that idea
Mm,
of being in complete control of your incomplete soul.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. Well, because you mentioned like that what am I willing to give up like mentally and like emotionally of a situation. Kind of reminds me of, it was a line. I think it's Finicky with the line. It's like you entering the room but leaving the knife at the door just in case like something
Bad
that
dreams,
pops.
there come back. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's that idea of you trying to come at a situation enough angles to maybe make it make sense, or
Can't control that the bad dreams are going to be there, but I can control that I got a knife under the bed,
yeah,
ready for those bad dreams. You know?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's in Tiptoe, I think. Yeah,
With that like personal and that kind of that constantly coming back to yourself, like, or conversations with yourself. Some I was trying to figure out while listening through how many of those were like written to you and written about something else, because you have moments like Metal in the Middle and Tiptoe which feel, you know, to me as a listener, you kind of going inward and trying to figure out what's going on, and then you like, you know, Finicky and Footprints almost feels like it could be a toss up whether it was a thought, it was one of those, you know, mental conversations you had with a person that maybe you didn't
yeah.
say it, but or it was even something said, like a conversation you actually had with a person, you know, going listening through that record. Sometimes you have those songs that were toss ups.
Yeah, those two songs specifically, "Finicky" and "Footprints," are very much like written about a specific person, like a friend in my life, or that kind of thing. Where "Footprints," I'm trying to encourage a friend that I held close, and
Mm-hmm.
um, being like, I want to encourage you to do the things you want to do, and uh, have faith in the follow through. There was very much like a situation where I
Yeah.
sat down and wrote that song for somebody, or in a way like saying what I wanted to say to that person or that situation.
Mm. Relationships and like how you relate to them seem to be like the way I listen through internet dating. Seems to be a really big part of your songwriting.
Hmm.
Like what about that and like connection constantly do you return to?
Um, I've had my kind of dating experience goes as being like I've had a lot of long term relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, getting to know somebody super over the course of a time, and then coming to like being all the joys of that and the thrills and the
Mm-hmm.
and then like the heartbreak that comes after it is such a, I think, dynamic thing in my life where it's very back and forth of this like the ups and downs of that
Yeah.
emotion. And it's a fun thing to write about because I feel like when I write a song, sometimes when I write a song that's negative or like feels very draining or
Mm-hmm.
exhausted in that relationship, it's or in that relationship with a person or even situations in general, it's um, like when I write those things, sometimes it ends up changing how I feel about it. Just like
Mm-hmm.
adding a perspective, or like the more times I play it, the more I think about like how I felt in that situation.
Mm.
And those like having a journal where you go back and you read something 2 years ago, and you're like, I feel very different about that right now,
Yeah.
looking back on it. But I'm glad that I wrote that down because it adds my like perspective to me to where I am now,
Mm-hmm.
listening to old stuff and being like, oh, that was kind of like almost like either silly of me to feel that way, or why did I like think so hard on that, like looking back, or things like that, you know. But it's
Mm-hmm.
good for me to kind of, in order to get through the in the moment, write those things down. And oftentimes for me, music is such an emotional thing that it's easy to put words to the music that matches how I feel, and
Mm-hmm.
then let that say what it says, you know.
One song we've already talked about a couple songs, but one song I do really want to ask about is the closer, Reflex, which you was that cut. It says live to tape on it, but was that one cut like you sat down in the studio with just like a tape machine and cut that one,
Yeah,
or?
we did that actually. John from Braceco
Oh,
came
okay.
over to my place and set up, like, he has a Taxom tape thing, and
Yeah.
so we just set up a couple microphones, and like at the very beginning of the track, like the first thing you hear is him saying, "Okay, you're good, like ready to record," you know. And we recorded it maybe like 3 times, and just live, me standing in front of two
Mhm.
microphones, and then we did that for a compilation. That was for the Tigers
Oh, yeah,
compilation.
yeah.
Yeah, and so we did that, and also recorded Jove, like re-recorded that song,
Mm-hmm.
which is the original's on the split with Stars Hollow, Employer, and Catholic
Yep.
Werewolves. But we redid that one acoustic, live to tape too, for y'all's comp. I'm pretty sure your comp,
Yes.
or maybe that was a Brace Cove one. One either way.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I do remember because when I was listening through, when I saw that, I was like, I remember looking through the email and being like, oh, Dino's cutting something live, like this will be sick. And then yeah.
yeah.
um
Yeah, that's what it ended up being. Put it to tape, and then I sent it to Corey Kaufman.
mhm.
He mixed it, and then Ryan mastered it.
Nice.
Yeah.
One of the you put out a music video. We put out a couple of music videos, but the one I really wanted to ask about was for that lead track, Metal in the Middle, which was that all one take, or was that?
Yeah. For the
Oh,
most part, so we did it. There was a part where where he zooms the camera up at the sky,
yeah.
and so he had to change his lighting feature for that. So we had the first half, and then the second part where it's not the sky, where it's on like the dancers or Trevor
Mm,
and I, and it's walking around that. That's all one shot. And then when he fades up in the bridge and goes towards the sky, and then it ends up having the lyrics that
mm,
Walter like added all the animation for that. Um, that's like a second separate shot where he's like, I just have to get this at a specific time so that it doesn't mess with the lighting and stuff. So
mm.
yeah, but the
Did
rest of that's one shot where he just like said, "All right, go," and we put it on a speaker and played along to the speaker
mm.
so that it like looked, we had the timing right and on everything, and then yeah, and then he just walked around with his camera and filmed it all. And
Who came up with the concept for that video? Because it's pretty involved. Not only is it you and Trevor playing, you got the dancers, and you got with the the animation on the screen. Where was that something you were thinking of doing, or was that something you worked with the director for? Or
yeah, Walter Smits
mm-hmm.
is a really good friend of mine. We've been friends for a while. He's does amazing artwork pieces, and I bought a few and really liked them. And so I hit him up when we were planning on doing the album, and was like, I would love like a massive 5 foot by 5 foot canvas piece, and he as just being like the album cover, which he
Yeah.
did, and that's what it ends up being. So that's like on 5 foot canvas. Uh, and as he was working on it, I was like, well, it'd also be cool. Would you be down to like just take some promo photos? And like, oh yeah, sure. And I can maybe like draw on them and make them interesting. And I was like, hell yeah. And I was like, well, what about like, would you want to do a music video and stuff? And then it ended up just being like, all
Mm.
right, Walt, let's sit down and put together, just the two of us, this whole like package of artwork to go with album.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when we sat down and talked about the music videos, the Metal in the Middle one was the one where we were just kind of sat down and we're like, let's make a somewhat flow board of what we want to see in the video or what we want done. And I don't remember who had the idea of asking Celeste, Juliana, and Lucas to dance in it. But yeah, it was just kind of what if we had dancers in this doing live dance? And as we were doing it, we went a couple times to the site where we filmed it on the Mississippi.
Yeah.
It has like different little elements we kind of figured out as we were going along and being like, okay, when we come back to shoot it, and we did a couple test run shots and things like that, and being like, we need to time this right and get to this point and this point at this point in the song. And so, yeah.
Had you ever done anything that intensive leading up to the Metal in the Middle video?
Random videos here and there can be like intensive, like casual shot of music video in a cabin one time where we like shot it ourselves. And so there's kind of just like, it was fun to be doing it just me and one other person, being like, let's create all the artwork for this album, and including videos and that kind of stuff I hadn't really done before. So it was fun to like create that image with Walt. And yeah.
Okay, you said it was shot along the Mississippi. Was that in Minnesota? Or I know you said you've been living in, or you said off mic, you've been living in Kansas City a little bit. Was that down there?
No, this is up in Minnesota. Okay. Yeah. I just went down to Kansas City maybe back in January.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Gotcha. Because I was like, it looks like a beautiful, like Minnesota summer night, kind of with the.
Yeah, it was in the fall of this last year when we shot it initially. So, and then Walt added all the animation and edited it all with lighting and different things to make it work.
I just got a couple questions left. Do you have anything coming up as Internet Dating? Any plans for any like live streams or anything going on?
Yeah, I on tomorrow, this coming Friday, I've got a video that I put up 2 songs for Kali Masi's album release. They're releasing Laugh on Friday. And I recorded 2 songs for that, and that's Friday. We'll have the link in my bio. Other than that, I'm also planning on doing Spin Magazine has a Twitch thing that they do with the video.
Okay.
And then doing an album playthrough too. Just a video setup where it's Trevor and I just playing through the whole thing live, and not to the tracks, just like the 2 of us playing through it all. So setting that up right now.
Okay,
kind of want to make sure it's all safe with COVID and being careful with everyone. So, but I get my second dose coming up on the 5th. So,
oh hell yeah,
I'll be clear sailing, but still got to mask up for others,
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully we can get enough people. Well, right now in Minnesota, Governor Walz, I saw the announcement, said anyone starting the 30th of March, 16 and up, is eligible. So hopefully we can go back to shows sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Yeah, I was lucky going down to Kansas City. They're kind of just handing out shots down there. I didn't have to tell them anything. I just like called and made an appointment. And then as soon as I showed up, they're like, oh, you don't have health insurance. No, you don't live here. Okay, whatever. I was like, I just moved here, please. And they're like, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easier than you think. Just go get it.
Yeah. And then where can people connect with Internet Dating online, find your music? You got some really cool stuff, like physical stuff for this album too.
Yeah, it's all over on Brace Cove's website. You can find links to everything over there. BraceCoveRecords.com. There's a lot of cool artist stuff on there too. So.
Oh yeah, of course. Awesome. Well, that answers all my questions.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Well, Dino, thank you so much for coming on and being a repeat guest here on the podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's really nice talking to you again. I hope we can do hang out at shows coming up real soon.
The Ear Coffee Podcast is a companion to the blog of the same name. If you like this episode, please leave us a rate and review so we can stand out among the other music podcasts. You can follow us at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram @EarCoffee. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.